Hello and welcome to Nikolai's genetics lessons, and today's problem is what ratios typically result from the crosses dealing with a single genetic locus. And the first example is classical T-hybrid cross, a famous experiment of the Mendel with peas, where he had two traits, being color and shape, would segregate in these ratios when we have T-hybrid cross. And if we add 9 plus 3 plus 3 plus 1, we are going to get 16. So this is a 4 by 4 Punnett square. In answer B, we also have example of the dihybrid cross, where we also, if add all the numbers, we are going to get 16. The same ratios we see here, 16 and 16 here. Only answer C would give us ratios that we can see when there is only one locus and two different alleles. So basically, if we have some chromosome and another homologous chromosome, one chromosome is inherited from the mother side, another inherited from the father side. And here, if in gene pool two alleles present, so this is going to be the same gene, but slightly different variations of the same gene. Sometimes this only can be single nucleotide point mutation that would cause different alleles that slightly may behave differently, and we will see result of combinations of different alleles as different phenotypes. For example, if in gene pool we have two alleles, for example, allele A dominant and allele A recessive, in diploid organism, these two alleles can produce following genotypes: capital A, capital A, small a, and small a, small a. And for example, 3:1 ratio can be explained if we take one parent whose genotype is capital A, small a, or heterozygous, and when we cross with another parent whose genotype also going to be heterozygous. In simple dominance model, in progeny, we are going to see following genotypes and phenotypes: capital A here, capital A, small a here, capital A, small a here, and small a here. Say if both these parents are plants with red flowers, then ratio of the same color in the progeny would be 3:1. So we can expect that 3 would be the same color as parents and 1 would be white. And this is going to be first ratio, 3:1. 1:1 we can see ratio if, say, one parent is heterozygous and another parent is homozygous dominant. And in this case, ratio would be as follows: capital A here, capital A, small a here, capital A here, and capital A, small a here. So we see here two genotypic ratios, 1:1 or 2:2. So can this also result in the different phenotypes? Yes, it is possible. For example, if this time this would be example with incomplete dominance. So if we consider that dominant allele A would produce red pigment, recessive allele A would produce white pigment, or wouldn't produce any pigment at all because this is going to be mutated allele. So phenotype of this parent would be intermediate between red and white. So would be diluted red or would be pink. and phenotype of this parent would be red. And then in the F1 generation, we can expect that 50% of the progeny would have the same phenotype as this parent, and another 50% of the progeny would have the same phenotype as another parent. So this is example of genotypic ratio and also phenotypic ratio. So this was second example, and the third example, 1 to 2 to 1 ratio, is this of course can be genotypic ratio 1 homozygous dominant to 2 heterozygous genotype to 1 homozygous recessive genotype, but this also can result in phenotypic ratio. Once again, I would use this example with incomplete dominance. So dominant allele A is incompletely dominant over recessive allele A, and two heterozygous parents that phenotypically going to be pink in their progeny would produce following genotypes and phenotypes. So here we would see capital A, capital A, capital A, small a, capital A, small a, and small a, small a. So this genotype would result in red pigments in plants. This genotype would result in pink pigments in plants, and this phenotype would result in white pigment in plants, or white actually here, especially in plants, means absence of the pigment. So this is just mutated allele that doesn't produce any pigment at all. So this would be variation of the same dominant allele, but would be mutated and would be non-functional. And in some plants, one normal allele is not enough to produce the same phenotype when plant has two normally functioning alleles, and the color of the plant would be diluted, so between red and white, so would be pink. So as you see, ratios here also 1 to 2 to 1. So 1 red to 2 pink to 1 white. So this was last example with 2 alleles and 1 locus. Locus is just a position on the chromosome on the same two homologous chromosomes. In the same locus we have the same gene, but because these chromosomes inherited by us or by any animal, diploid animal or diploid plant or any other organism, would get one chromosome from the mother side, another from the father side. So in the same location or locus, such an organism may have different alleles, basically the same gene, but with different mutations. And this is all for today. Thank you for your attention. Please subscribe for my new videos that I post almost every day. Thumbs up if you like this video. Please write your comments, questions if you have any. Share this video with your classmates, and see you in the next video. Goodbye.